why we should be concerned of Chris. I don't know if you guys know who Chris is. He's basically friends with Mr. Beast and the crew. There's probably more members, but I'm not doing all that. But recently, Chris has been trending on the internet. And to everyone's surprise, Chris is looking a lot more feminine. And I don't mean Chris coming out bisexual, which happened quite a while ago. Chris starting to paint his nails, which also happened quite a while ago. But he grew his hair out and started to dress differently, wearing makeup and stuff. Very female-like. These changes really show when Mr. Beast did a live stream, opening packages that fans gave to Mr. Beast and the crew. And when watching this live stream, the fans, the viewers that are watching this live stream, noticed that Chris looked a little different than the Chris they knew before. Here's a clip from that live stream to see what I'm talking about when I mean he's looking a little different.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even say anything because I knew he wanted that.
You think he did that?
Bro, this
Yeah,
was
he's
an
trying to
accident, I
get
promise you
stapled
this
his
wasn't.
talent so hard. He's like, make fun of me so that way.
I wish that was true.
Guys, he looks good.
It does look good though.
Oh yeah, he looks good. I'm just saying the
Alright,
internet
good
makes fun of any chick.
What?
Open that.
What?
Open that.
I don't think it. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Give one example.
Wait, I think.
I'm not saying that Chris is a completely different human being than before. More so that Chris's style is a little different. Had a little crop top on, with a little bit of makeup on his face. But why should I, or any of you guys, be concerned about Chris? And that is, if you look at that fan art live stream from Mr. Beast, you could see that Chris specifically has very white skin. And I mean vanilla ice cream white, polar bear white. I'm not really a homophobic person, me personally. But just look at Chris's skin and tell me that's not a sign of supernatural demonic transitioning. Rather than Chris transitioning into a female, I believe that Chris is transitioning himself into a vampire. Listen, I personally find myself to hate the LGBTQ community. From my experience, the LGBTQ community has treated me like I'm some sort of animal. Quick little story from me, or you can skip this story if you want to. But I remember I was arguing with a member of the LGBTQ community about equal rights and stuff, blah 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 blah. And they all of a sudden brought up my sexuality. Meaning they were basically saying that I'm not straight. Basically calling me gay for no reason mid-argument.
You should get out of the closet and show your true self.
That's the ending to my little story of mine. So yeah, I do have a slight hate for the LGBTQ community, but not for Chris specifically. Now back to my point about not Chris transitioning to a female, but rather a vampire. Like I said before, if you take a good look at Chris, can you tell me right now, with a serious, straight face, is that not a sign of something supernatural? You know what people with really white skin are called. Ding! Vampires. Chris has came out and said that he's been taking drugs and pills for his female transition, but I don't believe in all that. Also, the fact that Chris went through a neutral divorce with his wife confirms even more that Chris is a vampire. So he won't show his family or his loved ones what he truly wants to become. So let's dig deeper into this whole vampire theory. What does it take to become a vampire? One of the obvious ways is to be bitten by a vampire. But another alternative, and a safe alternative into becoming a vampire, is doing a ritual, which I believe Chris has done to become a vampire. Watch this how-to video on how to become a vampire. This is not my video, by the way. Credit will be around here.
You need to do this at Friday midnight, on the first and third week each month, for 3 consecutive months. Failure to do so will give you no results. With a soft voice, and you facing towards an open window in your room, say this spell 13 times during that midnight. Blood red. Pale skin. Moonlight draw me in. Quench my thirst. Coursing veins. Let my body feel no pain. Blood red. Pale skin. Moonlight draw me in. Quench my thirst. Coursing veins. Let my body feel no pain.
Blood red, pale skin. Pale skin. Chris transitioning into a female, quote unquote. It's interesting, you know? Because while Chris is doing this whole transition into becoming a female, he's looking suspiciously pale. I think the timing is a little weird. But from the video I just showed you on how to become a vampire, it seems easy. a little too easy. It seems like Chris watched this exact video and turned himself into a vampire. This theory is still a little confusing, but let me clear it up even more for you. Why does Chris want to become a vampire? Let me answer this plain and simple. People of the internet, so people of the world, could be distracted by the fact that he's transgender, but what if we put something else in front of the people that's even more surprising than changing into a different gender? And that is becoming a vampire. Let me cook for one final time. Do I believe that Chris is transitioning into a completely different gender? Yes. But do I also believe that Chris is becoming a vampire? Yes. And what is my reasoning behind this theory? Because once Chris reveals himself to be a vampire, the whole world will be so shocked by this fact that the same people who are hating on Chris on becoming a different gender will completely forget about the fact that Chris is transgender. I believe that Chris will reveal himself as a vampire in some sort of event. I don't know where, I don't know when, but it will happen soon. And how will Chris reveal himself as a vampire? It's a simple idea, really. Imagine Mr. Beast planning out this big event in, let's say, California. And this big event is a mix of crazy challenges, meeting up with fans, eating, drinking, dancing, all that good stuff, having a good time. While having a fun time in this big Mr. Beast event, BAM! All of a sudden, the lights turn off. Everyone's freaking out. The crowd goes wild. The fans are wondering what's going on. But then, vampire music starts playing. The lights turn back on. Chris appears out of nowhere, using multiple real-life bats as transportation to show his dominance and control over these bats. Slowly coming down to the level of the crowd, finally revealing himself. Not as a trans woman though, but as a vampire. The crowd goes silent for a second. The crowd cheers.
Oh my god, I didn't know you were a vampire.
No way, this is real. The crowd ultimately cheers for Chris, while completely ignoring the fact that he's trans but a vampire. This is a dream for anyone who's a part of the LGBTQ community. A wet dream, a lucid dream, a fantasy. Not only can Chris be himself, but the fans, society, won't remember or even care about the fact that he's trans, but rather focus on the fact that he's a vampire now. And Chris lives happily ever after. I do believe Chris is trans, but I also believe that Chris is a vampire. And this benefits Chris how? The fans of the Mr. Beast channel, society, will completely forget about the fact that Chris is trans and focus on the fact that Chris is a blood-sucking vampire. Say how you view this, but it's a victory on my book, a victory to the fans, and a possible victory to Chris. Society's chillin', the internet's chillin', the fans are chillin', Chris is chillin', everyone's chillin'.